Today, we're delving into the complex case of Officer Rebecca Sayegh, Toms River police veteran, whose personal and professional crises led to a high-profile criminal incident in April 2025. Can you set the stage for our listeners, explaining why this case has captured national attention?
Absolutely. Officer Sayegh's story is a convergence of workplace discrimination, mental health struggles, and a shocking off-duty crime. Her journey from filing a harassment lawsuit to her dramatic arrest touches on systemic issues in law enforcement, making it both a cautionary tale and a catalyst for broader reform discussions.
That intersection of personal trauma and institutional failure truly elevates the conversation. To better understand the dynamics, let's walk through her professional background and recent legal challenges.
Sayegh joined the Toms River PD in 2016 and quickly distinguished herself, even earning commendations for heroic acts. Yet, behind the accolades, she faced alleged sexual harassment and a boys' club culture which she formally challenged in court, only to have her lawsuit dismissed on procedural grounds.
Gender discrimination in policing isn't new, but Sayegh's lawsuit highlights persistent barriers. Can you elaborate on the challenges female officers often face, especially regarding advancement and workplace culture?
Certainly, studies show female officers encounter systemic obstacles, limited mentorship, exclusion from key assignments, and, as Sayegh alleged, inappropriate behavior at events. The boys' club dynamic she described is unfortunately common, often discouraging women from reporting misconduct for fear of retaliation or career stagnation.
And when such complaints are dismissed, as in Sayegh's case, what message does that send to others in the department?
It can reinforce a culture of silence. Dismissals based on technicalities, like statutes of limitations, sidestep the substantive issues. This not only deters future complaints, but also undermines trust in internal accountability systems, making it harder to address underlying problems.
Let's move chronologically through the key events. After her lawsuit was dismissed on April 11, 2025, what transpired that led to the notorious home invasion just 2 weeks later?
On April 25, Sayegh allegedly broke into her ex-boyfriend's home, using a baton to smash the door, and assaulted both him and his new partner. She threatened to burn the house down, damage property, and resisted arrest, escalating what started as a domestic dispute into a serious criminal episode.
The escalation was rapid and severe. How did the police respond upon arrival, and what procedural steps were taken in the aftermath?
Berkeley Township Police acted swiftly, arresting her on scene after a struggle. Initially charged via summons, the gravity of the situation led to upgraded charge home invasion, assault, and more just days later. This procedural transparency was notable and appeared to follow best practices.
Sayegh's release into a mental health program rather than jail points to deeper concerns. How do trauma and untreated mental health issues contribute to such dramatic behavioral shifts in law enforcement officers?
Law enforcement is among the most stressful professions, with chronic exposure to trauma and violence. Without early intervention, officers may develop PTSD, depression, or substance abuse issues. Sayegh's rapid unraveling could reflect accumulated stress, workplace alienation, and inadequate support, which together can trigger crisis-level actions.
Are there studies quantifying this risk among officers?
Yes, the Ruderman Family Foundation found police officers are twice as likely to die by suicide as by line-of-duty incidents. Untreated mental health issues often manifest as aggression or self-destructive behavior, underscoring the need for robust wellness programs.
Let's break down what these mental health programs for officers actually entail. What are their core functions, and how do they differ from general mental health services?
Law enforcement programs are tailored for the unique stresses of policing. They offer early intervention like routine screening, peer support networks, and trauma-informed therapy. Unlike generic counseling, these programs acknowledge the hypervigilance and control orientation common in police work, with therapists trained to address law enforcement culture.
Confidentiality seems crucial. How do these programs build trust so officers actually use them?
Strict confidentiality is a cornerstone. Programs reassure officers their careers won't be jeopardized by seeking help, counteracting the culture of silence. Leadership engagement also plays a role when command staff models vulnerability. It normalizes mental health care for the entire force.
Turning to the department's response, what does a SWOT analysis reveal about both the strengths and weaknesses shown in this case?
A major strength was a swift and transparent law enforcement reaction, arresting Sayegh promptly and escalating charges as warranted. However, the incident exposed weaknesses, a severe breach of public trust, and possible gaps in internal support systems, especially given her dismissed harassment claims and subsequent mental health crisis.
Opportunities and threats must also be considered. What might this case catalyze for the department and community?
It's an opportunity for policy reform, improving officer wellness, grievance handling, and oversight. Yet, reputational damage and legal liability loom as threats, especially if systemic negligence or retaliation is alleged in future civil suits.
Cases like Sayegh's often become inflection points. How do such incidents historically drive changes in police policy, especially around mental health and internal accountability?
High-profile incidents highlight institutional weaknesses, prompting legislative and administrative reforms. For instance, the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act of 2018 was partly a response to growing awareness of officer suicides and burnout. Departments may now implement mandatory counseling, peer support, and stronger anti-harassment protocols as a result.
Is there evidence these reforms work in practice?
Yes. Cities with robust wellness programs, like Dallas, have seen reductions in officer suicides and use-of-force incidents. However, sustained leadership commitment is key. Reforms must go beyond checklists to affect lasting cultural change.
To address mental health crises, communities have developed models like CAHOOTS and CIT. Can you compare their structures and philosophies for our listeners?
Certainly. CAHOOTS is a civilian-led model from Eugene, Oregon, sending medics and crisis workers SUNARMETO nonviolent calls. CIT, the Memphis model, trains police officers in de-escalation and mental health awareness. CAHOOTS diverts calls away from police, while CIT improves police handling of crises. Both have lowered arrests and injuries, but their scalability and integration differ.
Are hybrid models emerging as a best practice?
Yes. Cities like Denver combine element civilian crisis teams handle most calls, with CIT-trained officers as backup. This flexibility tailors response to community needs, blending public health and law enforcement perspectives.
How do these mental health and crisis intervention programs tangibly improve police-community relations?
Programs like CIT and CAHOOTS build trust by prioritizing compassionate crisis response. Memphis saw an 80% drop in officer injuries on mental health calls, while Eugene's CAHOOTS diverts up to 8% of calls, freeing police for emergencies. Transparent, health-centered approaches reshape public perceptions, especially in communities with historical mistrust of police.
Community collaboration seems key. Can you share examples of successful partnerships?
In Vancouver, pairing officers with mental health nurses reduced ER visits and improved care. Such partnerships foster shared ownership of public safety and wellness, strengthening neighborhood bonds and reducing stigma.
Taking a broader view, what are the long-term effects of police mental health programs on communities as a whole?
Sustained investment leads to fewer untreated mental illnesses, reduced homelessness, and lower emergency interventions. Studies show public health outcomes improve, costs drop, and civic engagement rises. For example, youth-focused programs have been linked to higher graduation rates and stable employment, breaking cycles of trauma.
Are there measurable economic benefits to these initiatives?
Absolutely. Preventative approaches lower healthcare and criminal justice costs. Eugene's CAHOOTS saves the city about $8.5 million annually in public safety expenses, making a strong case for integrating wellness into the core mission of law enforcement.
In closing, what key lessons can law enforcement agencies take from the Rebecca Sayegh case, and where should reform efforts focus moving forward?
The Sayegh case underscores the urgency of addressing internal culture, supporting officer wellness, and ensuring transparency. Agencies must view mental health as integral to public safety, not a side issue. Future reforms should blend strong prevention programs, robust grievance systems, and meaningful community partnerships to rebuild trust and resilience.
Thank you for this comprehensive discussion. As the case unfolds, we'll keep a close watch on how both individual and systemic changes take root, hoping for a safer, healthier future for officers and the communities they serve.